There, put the microphone on. Are we live? We are live. What's up? Hey, Jack, did you lose power? Matt, yeah, of course it's raining at my house. I live like 3 miles from you. How's the audio sound? $3,000. You give me $3,000, I'll get a haircut and I'll get a fresh shave. Hey, Matt, is audio good? Back on? That's good news. How windy is it at your house, Jack? Audio. Yeah, no power loss here. How are you, Josh? You doing all right, buddy? I'm trying to post this on our business page and stuff, but I wasn't really prepared for this. It's kind of a last minute kind of thing. So now I'm failing miserably. I hate when Facebook changes stuff. Facebook changes stuff and then I do not know how to use it. Like, how come I can't create a post on our Facebook business page? I don't want to create an event. Dang technology. Yeah, I've seen some pretty crazy videos. What about 3 Mile Bridge and those barges breaking loose? Like, whose idea was it to leave everything out there? Like, why would you leave the barges in the bay but not tear it down? Because that, or not take anything down or strap it down? Because that makes a whole lot of sense. Well, it looks like I do not know how to create a post. Inshore Fishing Friday. All right, that's what we're here to talk about as I try to learn how to post on Facebook. All right, so we'll talk about it more in a minute here. Mobile checking in here. No power loss for me, but definitely windy. Probably lose power sometime soon. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the area loses power. Obviously, we are in Navarre. I feel like we are pretty far east for the brunt of it, but I don't know if anyone actually knows where it's going to go. Yeah, someone is definitely getting fired, okay? The idea that that storm is rolling right into town and they didn't decide to, I don't know, strap anything down, or better yet, take everything and put it into the bayou, that makes zero sense to me. Oh, finally found the create post button. Man, I really hate when Facebook changes stuff. It really messes everything up I do in my life. I'm getting old. I can't just learn things. Flight line full of 130 is about to get wrecked. I wonder if they added fuel And I know they strapped them bad boys down, but I wonder if they added fuel first. I was thinking about it the other day. Fill it up with fuel, strap it down. Hope for the best. All right. Facebook stuff is done. I'm sure I messed up something. Okay, so we're going to talk about the hurricane and how it affect the weather or fish. Wow, I can't talk. Well, how it affect the fishing here in the next week or so with all the fresh water. Audio's good. Video's good. If video's good, smash the thumbs up button. I'm just kidding. That's hardcore YouTube right there. We're going to talk about this guy. Anybody know what this is? Anybody seen this in person? Firsthand? If you don't know what it is, you can guess below in the comments section. Beast from the east is the beast? Yeah, definitely. Hey Anthony, how are you? We're definitely going to talk about that, the fishing. We're going to talk about this. Doing the pinion. Yeah, okay, so let's give you some background. This is from the kayak that I have been fishing from since March. Obviously, it has a lot of miles on it. I have abused, I don't abuse it, I definitely take care of them, but I've definitely put it to work, right? It's got a lot of miles on it, no doubt about it. You guys can see how that black paint is no longer around here. And what happened was evidently water got in around this seal somehow, and I couldn't get this out. Usually you remove the 2 screws that go in here. You probably can't see it. You see how messed up it is. I had to mess it up to get it out. There's 2 screws that hold this in place. They come from the outside like that. Usually you remove those 2, you remove the 2 screws that go into the bottom, and this thing just pops out like so. However, it wouldn't come out. I PB blasted it. I did all kinds of stuff. I let it sit in PB blaster. It would not remove. I called Old Town just to ask a question before I went, Hammer Town on it, and they pretty much said put the nut on and then beat it till it comes out. Sometimes water gets around here and then it corrodes and it sticks itself to the inside of the PDL drive. Now I have the drive on the floor. I'll pick it up in a minute. So you guys can see how it goes in and out. I might get stuck in there. I might not be able to get it back out. So I had to take a flathead screwdriver and hammer it in there. You're not going to be able to see it real good, but it's destroyed right there. Finally, after beating it to death, I got it to release and pulled it out. And this is your pinion gear right now. I already tightened it, but I'm going to loosen it back up so you guys can see it. Can't get out of there. All right, so I tightened it up pretty good, so hopefully it comes loose. Of course, it would be too tight now. There we go. All right, so this is a 3mm hex head, and it pulls this screw out. Now, mine was it had a lot of corrosion and gunk on it, so I cleaned it up earlier, so there's no grease left. But that little guy goes on here like so. Now, if this guy isn't all the way tight, I'll show you, it'll have a little bit of play in it. And then once the prop is on there going back and forth and it's beating itself to death, this little guy, any kind of play, just a little bit, even 1/8 of an inch, it'll go tink, 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 and it knocks. That's these gears hitting that main gear in there and just going bloop, 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 bloop. It's ridiculous. It's super annoying. You'll be pedaling, it'll be like knock, 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 knock. Well, it started knocking. Obviously, I couldn't get it quick. I couldn't get it apart. Finally got it apart. I got this all tightened down. I called Old Town earlier and asked about purchasing a new piece right here because I'm going to have to be careful with this. It'll probably leak a little bit. And in the process of hammering on that, I ruined this gasket. What's my take on using Loctite? Yours comes loose frequently. I'd go red. I'd go with the best Loctite you can get. I would Loctite it down hardcore and I would never ever think about it again. I mean, for Pete's sakes, weld it. Who cares? You don't have to get it apart. The chance of these bearings going bad is pretty slim, especially if yours is watertight. What's up, dude? What's up, Kenny? What's up, man? What you guys doing? Oh, I see we got some Bridge Fisher right here. What's up, Mr. Kavar Tech? Hope you guys are doing well in the storm. Kenny, I hope your farm is doing well. How are the animals handling all the wind? That's a great question. But yeah, dude, I wouldn't hesitate about it. I would Loctite that bad boy up. Really, the reason it's not installed yet, I have to wait for that gasket, and then I'm gonna put some Loctite on here too, because I don't want to have to get back in here. And I don't want, we're gonna sell these kayaks pretty quickly, right? It's the end of the year. We just got 4 new ones in yesterday, unloaded them in the middle, right after it stopped raining, we unloaded them, and it started raining again, of course. So we got 4 brand new ones that are still in the wrapper outside in the trailer. Unfortunately, they're photic. They're ugly, they're hideous with orange bungees. However, our sales rep evidently typed in the wrong number, and the difference between Ember and photic is like 1 digit. And yes, now we have the ugly blue photic orange bungee kayaks that we're gonna have to deal with for a little while anyways, not too long. But yes, that's what it looks like. Pinion gear, lower unit. Yours should not be silver like this. You can see that pitting, all that white stuff on there. That is from the salt water getting in there, coming in past this seal, and then causing problems, really coming in this way, past that seal and causing problems. There wasn't any like standing water on the inside of the kayak or anything, or inside the lower unit, but it was enough to get this thing stuck, couldn't get it out, had to beat it to death. Yeah, it'll be okay. It'll all work out in the long run. If you have any questions about this thing, you should probably ask it. I've actually tore apart the entire assembly, top and bottom. We actually had one break the other day, not ours, but someone we know. Tore it apart. Actually had to weld the gear back together on the inside. It's pretty cool. I think I'm gonna do a video of tearing it apart so everybody can see what the inside of the pedal system looks like. It's actually super simple. So if yours pedal system ever completely breaks and it's out of warranty, don't be upset or intimidated. It's a super easy fix. Takes a little bit of time, a little bit of work, but overall, $1,000 for a new pedal drive, or just tear it apart and have the main gear welded. Super simple, so don't freak out about it. 2 inches of standing water in the yard. Animals are wet, but okay. Yeah, that's cool. I bet you they're not very happy though. That would suck. I don't want to go outside. Every once in a while you hear it pick up and start raining a little bit harder. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I can hear it. Hurricane live party. Yep. Hurricane party. This is it. I've been watching a lot of TV, you know, playing little video games. Powder coating on the rudders got a little bit delayed with the Labor Day weekend, and now we're getting a little bit more delayed, saying that, you know, there's a hurricane, and the guy who does the powder coating works at a marina full time, so he is, you know, he spent the last 2 days taking boats out of the water, so that he's been a busy man. Okay, so if you're looking for a powder coated rudder, they're on the way. This had some small hiccups, but you're gonna like them when you get them. All right, let's talk about the fishing part. If you have any more questions about this, or anyone just started watching, ask some questions and I'll go back over it. Super simple. So now I get this question asked a lot, pretty much all year, every time it rains. And obviously we're getting a lot more rain with the hurricane than we normally get during small rainstorms. But everyone freaks out when it rains and goes, oh man, the fish are gonna quit biting. Make sure you double check you can release the info. Not sure if Old Town patent is still in effect. Let's do a breakdown though. Well, since we're not redoing it to remanufacture it, and I'm pretty sure Old Town copied native pretty close to the T on the farthest principal bicycle pedal system, I'm not sure if they have a patent on it. But it'd be interesting. But since we're not selling it, we could tear it apart and tell everybody how to fix it. They have to fix it on their own, that's all. Very simple. I don't think we'd get any trouble for it. And then even if we could, oh well. I'm pretty sure Old Town already hates me as it is. It's okay, it's not a big deal. I accept it. But every time it rains, the salinity level will drop. But if it rains right on top of us, like regionally, think Destin, Navarre, so on, then the tide's gonna flush that fresh water out pretty quickly. The biggest problem we have is the runoff. Now, what's gonna happen right now, and I have my phone, I guess. If you guys look up like the flood stages, it's interesting to see. I'll look up Yellow River because it's usually what I use. You can type in the river that you live by and the flood stage, and it's going to give you some really, really interesting information. Now, I know the Yellow River flood stage, I'm going to look at it in Milligan, okay? If you're going to use Blackwater River, Escambia River, stuff like that, just pick the nearest rain measurement center via NOAA, and you'll get some really interesting information. I usually use this weatherdata.usgs.gov, so if you're looking on your phone, it come up and it kind of looks like a little blue, some yellow in there too. You probably can't see it because of lighting. We're just going to give you some really interesting information. So right now, September 13th, the water, oh, this is good. This is going to be a big number. Where is it at in feet? Discharge, okay, we have a discharge cubic feet. We don't want that. We want the measurement. There it is. Okay, so in Milligan on September 13th, end of the day, Yellow River was about 1.25 feet at the gauge, okay? Now it's already over 4 and it's completely off of the scale. It doesn't even give us any data for it. You might be able to see a blue line. Just kidding. Doesn't give us any data for it. So what it is in the last 2 days, Yellow River has already raised itself 2.5 feet plus. Who knows what it actually is, right? So it'll break the flood stage, and then we'll have an excess of fresh water in the bay system, which has to come through the bay system to get out into the Gulf of Mexico. It's the reason the Gulf of Mexico will get real, real dirty following these hurricanes. But with the tides, hopefully we get a bunch of north winds following the storm, and the north wind will help push all that water out of the bay system. As the tide comes in and out, it'll clean it out, and the salinity level will return to exactly where we want it. It happens really quick. We don't really live in a freshwater environment. A lot of people freak out about it, but it shouldn't take too many days. But if you've never looked at the flood stage data from the local rivers that you fish, it's actually really, really interesting. You should definitely check it out. It'll give you a bunch of knowledge on how the rivers, swell and they instantly drop back off and salinity level returns to normal. So if you haven't checked it out, make sure you go type your river in, look at it, especially following rains, especially following hurricanes. You can learn a whole bunch of information. What kind of questions you guys got about that stuff? Lost power for about 30 minutes, but it's back on now. Did you guys see the video of that barge and 3 Mile Bridge? That's crazy. Or better yet, I saw a video yesterday of some dudes in Dauphin Island that their Tacoma was under sand. Dude, the storm was supposed to hit you in the face, and you live 16 yards from the water. Why did you leave your Tacoma there? Why'd you leave? There's 3 vehicles. Why'd you leave your vehicles there? Doesn't make any sense to me. And we'll open this up to questions, so you guys can ask whatever kind of questions you want, and we'll answer them. I figured we'd spend some time, kill some time. We'll turn the timer on. We'll hang out and answer questions for 30 minutes. Well, then I'll probably go back to being a bum. As long as the internet's good and we got power, play video games, watch Netflix, watch Hulu, do whatever. Got nothing else to do in my life. Boom. Who's got the first question? Who's ever checked the river flood stage following a hurricane? Hey, Dino, what's up, man? How are you? Thanks, Chris. All is well here. We just got a little bit of rain, no big deal. A lot of rain, really. Fortunately, our house is in a pretty high spot in the neighborhood. Our neighbors, they built their house on a swamp. I don't know that because they bought it after it was built, but they brought in a lot of truckloads of clay. So I think they're going to get a lot of water. George, is it good fishing right after a hurricane? I just got in line. Not sure if you mentioned it. We went over a little bit of the salinity level stuff and how it takes some time to rebound. Did you hear my talk about the flood stage? One thing to consider is initially during the storm, obviously you're not going fishing. Wait, who saw that video of the guy flipping over his boat in the Destin Pass? Who saw that video? You need to watch that video. the rain would reduce the salinity levels, but the fish have to eat. That's the main thing to be concerned about. You're not going to stop eating. You probably already ate all your hurricane snacks. I mean, I've been eating hurricane snacks for 2 days. The fish aren't going to stop eating. They just are going to be in deeper water because obviously the shallows are, one, they're going to be diluted with fresh water. Salt water is denser, so they're going to be in deeper water trying to maintain that salinity level. Those are really things you got to focus on, is just having the right salinity. If you don't have the correct salinity, you're not going to have the right fish. That's really the gist of it. Everyone wants to make things complicated and all this crazy stuff, but you just need the right salinity. The fish have to eat. That boat video was crazy. Yeah, why did he floor it? If he would have just not hammered down, if boat would have just rolled over the backside. It'll be Thursday next week before I can go. That's perfect. That's perfect, George. The idea is to give it some time to flush the system. It's supposed to be really windy after the storm anyways. That stuff always changes, but right now the forecast is super windy even once the hurricane rolls through. We got 2 phone calls today about charters, and the weekend's fully booked. But I doubt we'll be running those trips since the weather is going to be garbage. What kind of videos you guys want to see in the future? I've been working on some random projects for the kayak and stuff. Charter season will start slowing down. Gives me a bit more time to work on projects like tearing this guy apart. And I might strap the GoPro to my chest sometime. But yo, the bimini down would have made sense too. So you saw the video? Yeah. The guy, like, over the shoulder view, he was like, I'm going to go help him. Like, then he was like, wait a minute, I can't go help him. It's super funny. Obviously, I hope that guy's okay, but super funny. How long after a hurricane will the salinity return to normal? Well, it's going to depend on every location, right? The biggest problem we are going to have is we have several main rivers that flow into our bay systems. If you think Yellow Water, you can say East River, Yellow Water, Blackwater Bay, Escambia, and you can go on over, Bon Secure, all these rivers. All those rivers are fed north of us, okay? So it has to come out somewhere. So all the rain that Alabama's getting right now, all the rain Alabama's going to get for the next 4 or 5 days, all that rain that this storm drops has to come down and has to come into our bay system. So the rain that we get today is irrelevant. The rain that we continue to get for the next week is the problem. That's the rain that is going to increase the duration, of the slow fishing, take longer for the salinity to return. But it's not gonna take that long, especially where you live, Carrie. You guys, is it even raining where you live right now? Are you even getting any rain? I doubt he's even getting any rain, guys. He lives over towards St. Mark's. Plus, your guys' fishery is completely different than ours. You have 2 tides a day. We have 1 tide every 12 hours. Pretty interesting, different worlds. Who's ever fished the St. Mark's area? Who's on here that's fished the St. Mark's area? I know the majority of the people who have commented live in the Pensacola area, and we just fish big bay systems, so it's a little bit different, right? Your saltwater opened up to the Gulf of Mexico, which is crazy. Beautiful fishery, though, for sure. Who else ate all the hurricane snacks? That's the real question here. Anybody have any other questions about this guy? You want to see the drive? Let's look at the drive without breaking anything. Oh yeah. Probably just messed up the lighting. Who cares? Okay, so now remember, this is my personal pedal system. This thing has a lot. Why do we only get 1 tide? Because we're not fortunate, that's why. Lots of comments here. Cleared up down here. Yeah, I imagine everything's out of your guys' way. Dino, it's been raining for hours over there, Carrie. Talked to Dad earlier. He messaged me and asked me if it was raining bad here. I told him no, because it's not really raining bad. You could chase fish further into brackish and freshwater. Typically speaking, not going to mess with it too much. just because if the salinity is good in one spot, you don't got to go anywhere else. The fish are already there. You could go and taste it as far as you want, but the closer you get to fresh water, it's usually hotter. And then the hotter water will stop the fish from being there anyways because it's deoxygenated. Why do we get only one tide? Yeah, we're just not fortunate. That's all it comes down to. We're not as fortunate as the St. Mark's Crystal River area, all that stuff. All right, you see all this black stuff? This is the paint job from this right here coming out of here. Now, this thing was so bad and messed up that I had to, this piece right here, come on. This piece is what protects the propeller, right? The propeller's back here spinning, so if you hit anything, you don't have any problems. But it was so bad that it's held on by a screw here and 2 screws here that these screws would not come loose, right? Like they were like corroded into place. So I had to take this one out and I had to Dremel, it might be hard, I had to Dremel these pieces out and then break this off so I could put a pair of vice grips on those screws and remove that. Now, I've never had that happen. Obviously, this was a bad get up, but it is what it is. So after beating it to death, and there's PB blaster all over my hands now, I finally got it apart. I ruined the seal in the process, but it's pretty simple. There's nothing in there. So what you have is you have a pretty much a bolt that comes through. It comes to a gear, and then this guy comes into that gear. The knocking noise you hear is when this is spinning, the propulsion of the prop pulls this backwards, and then it knocks on that gear in there. See, you can spin that gear. You guys can see the shadow. Pedals are moving, all you can see is the shadow. Pretty interesting. Who's tore this apart before? Anybody tore this apart before? It's pretty simple. Well, Anthony tears his part all the time because he says his always knocks. You should definitely put Loctite on there. But what happens is this guy drops in place. Now, look, this dude does not come back out of here. I am not going to be happy. What am I doing with my life? I don't know if he'll even go in there now because I beat the crap out of it. All right, so I'm not going to push it down there too hard, but you can see how it's supposed to go in place. Like, dude, I'm going to have to beat mine back into place, though. Yeah, just because, I mean, I haven't cleaned it up inside here yet, so there's a bunch of that paint that's chipped out. But I'm just going to clean it up real good because you can see that paint is still coming out. And then I will put it back together. Now, I've tore these things apart a whole bunch of times in the past. This is the only one I've ever had any kind of issues with. It's about to get stuck in there. Oh, not good. But I'm going to tear it apart. And I'll sand it all up, make it all good, and it'll go back together right. And then this one will get sold for a discounted price, obviously. This is the first time I ever had it get water in there where it couldn't come apart, though. So I had to tear it apart and find out. One thing about all of our rental kayaks, and this doesn't really matter because the kayaks are so durable, our rental, since we're a rental outfitter or rental dealer, rental outfitter, where they want to refer to it, our kayaks only have 3-month warranties initially. Your warranty doesn't transfer to the second owner anyway, so ours only have 3 months warranties. Obviously, I've had this one for 6 months. I didn't really sweat it being broke because, well, it'd be hard pressed for anyone to put as many miles as I put on this thing in 6 months. And probably 2 to 3 years, who knows. I put so many miles in this darn thing. And I really wanted to see what it looked like in there since it was broke. Once I couldn't get it off in 30 seconds, I was pretty upset. And then it was like, okay, I have to find a way to get it apart. And then I ended up, Dremel, vice grips, flathead screwdriver, large hammer. It worked. It's apart. Interesting. If yours ever breaks, though, and you got questions, let me know. Super simple, typically speaking. I probably should do a video on the pinion gear as well, for those who don't know, but it's easy. Have you used a flush to remove the grease before? I have a spare dryer that someone tossed in the dump and it's packed with grease. It's the only problem I've noticed. No, I've never. Okay, so I've logged a lot of miles on these things, right? I've never ever added grease to a single one of these systems. When they tell you that they are supposed to be no maintenance and self whatever and blah blah blah, I mean, they're not really kidding. They're pretty darn durable. I'm getting sand everywhere. They're pretty darn durable. They're tanks. That's the reason that we use them on all the charters and rentals, is because you just really can't break it. It wasn't really broken. It just, every once in a while it made a knocking noise, and that knocking noise started to get on my nerves. It wasn't even loud, but it was getting worse. I wanted to tear it apart and fix it. I didn't want to sell it to the next person with that knocking noise. Now, sometimes that knocking noise will go away sometimes, right? Yeah, throw it in the freezer, maybe. Yeah, I think our current problem is just the pitting. All that pitting is just from being corroded, so it's not as nice as it once was. That's why it was stuck in place too. So by the time I clean that up, and I'll probably soak it in some stuff and get that pitting off of there, it's gonna slide back in place with no issues. Then I'm gonna seal it up real good. I'll probably put some anti-seize in there or something. That way it comes out next time with no issues if anyone has to take it apart. And then here in the next 2 weeks, it'll be sold anyway. So, but I'm gonna get it cleaned up real good and get it back in action. But yeah, I've never tore one apart to add grease or flush grease or anything like that. Have you, Anthony? Have you pulled the? Hold on, let me see. I'm gonna show you. You see that spanner right there? All those little holes on the top of it? Have you ever pulled that off? It lets you see right down through the drive. All you got, if you don't have a spanner wrench, it's no big deal. Just take 2 Allen wrenches, put them in those holes, like so, and put a screwdriver, and it'll just come undone. It's not on there tight at all. Even if you want to take off the side plate, if you take a hammer and you hammer off the crank arms, we'll remove the bolts first. Yeah, hammer those off there, and then take bigger Allen wrenches. You can pull off the side plate too. Packed? Why would anybody do that? That's what I need to do. I just need to just start telling people, all right, your drive broke, well, I'll just take it. That's actually a really good idea. I could just be fixing PDL drives left and right. Look at this paint just coming off. You have a spanner? Oh, nice. Yeah, I didn't go out and buy a spanner. I normally don't have to take them apart. But it's super easy, man. I feel like people are terrified of taking it apart. Look at all this paint just coming off here. Oh, well, not too big of a deal. What kind of questions you guys got about, I don't know, fishing, PDL, kayaks, whatever? Any questions? We're open for questions. We're just killing time. I hadn't been able to go. What's up with this whole world sending out? I get text messages about political debates all the time. Get out of here. Quit texting me. Any questions though, whether it's fishing, kayak related, whatever, let me know. We'll get those answered. I hadn't been able to go live. Probably it's been a while. Probably I don't know. It's probably been 2 months. We have been really busy with the charters and stuff. Obviously, the product side of the business, manufacturing side of the business has been doing excellent. So thank you for all of your orders. Those things stopped the ability to go live. Any hints on the new projects? Not really. There's nothing too exciting in there. I feel like the rudder was probably pretty exciting for a lot of people because that rudder is really terrible. Really kind of just tinkering with some things. I don't have anything per se set in stone or like magical answers. Grease for the drag washers. Okay, so I did a video that's called Cal's Drag Grease, right? I use that on the drag washers, but when we do the real servicing, we use corrosion X grease. And typically speaking, I don't ever do the corrosion. I have a guy for that. It's kind of, I get so busy. When we're done using the offshore reels, we instantly go to the inshore reels. So I just drop off the offshore reels, and then when it's time to use offshore reels, I drop off the inshore reels. So I don't ever do it myself, unless there's a short, a quick, easy problem that I know I can fix, i.e., roller bearing or something like that, line roller bearing that I can just pop out, pop back in, and call it a day. Of course, I replace the drag myself because it's super simple. But anytime we go to have them fully serviced, I take them out to Keith, and he does a fantastic job for us. Sometimes I fish too much to have time to sit down and do all the maintenance. It's a little crazy around here, all right? Can't really think of any other projects, any hints. Every once in a while I throw up random plastic pieces right here, but I don't have anything in the room. We do have 7 3D printers pretty much running full time these days as of, last week, to fulfill all the printing orders. So yeah, that's a milestone. More printers so we can print more things. Keeps us busy, that's for sure. You guys should start seeing people install those rudders that we sent out. So I'm sure we're going to sell a bunch of those things. Pretty simple install video. Makes people's life a whole lot easier. That's about it though. I can't give away all my projects. Dino, you always want to know my projects. Oh, other projects. There's a gentleman named Tom who's always hating on me in the comment section for not having any hats. It's not completely my fault. Our hat company is located in California. I know, crazy. Mom and pop shop place, which I like to keep all of our business small business, right? So anything that we source, if I have to go out of the house to get something, whether it's hoodies or hats or whatever, or getting the metal cut or getting the rudders powder coated, I always use small businesses, right? The small business in California, though, they're not allowed to go to their business because California is weird. So they've been working out of their houses. We actually have some hats on order. There should be here October 2nd, but that could be October 15th. Who knows? All right. The next thing we got in work, hoodies. I love some hoodies. We sell a ton of hoodies every year. So end of September, we'll do a hoodie pre-order. If you haven't ever bought one of our hoodies, you should, because they're amazing. They even have this cool little zipper, like our pocket right here. It has a zipper. So you have your zipper pocket, put your cell phone in there, then you have your regular pocket, and you can't even tell the zipper's there. I didn't even know when we first got them. What about a camera mount for the top of the drive? PDL doesn't have an attachment point. Look, so I thought about multiple different things to put on top of the PDL drive, right? So rod holder, right? Not the holder rod, but just a little U, so you can put your rod in the seat, and then your rod will stay in the middle. That way, when you're pedaling, it stays there. Thought about the camera mount. I've thought about, you can make an adapter that clips on to, that little thing you put your fingers in. I've considered some options with that. I've considered the option of just using the double-sided tape to the top of the spanner hole. Then you can put the rod holder there. I have mounted a GoPro to that area using a Ram claw mount. It kind of just gives you a picture of your gonads, all right? Kind of gets crotch shot, hardcore. Especially because you're kind of leaning back in the kayak, so kind of films the seam on your pants. So that is why we haven't done the camera mount for it. The U rod holder would be awesome. Yeah, I've kind of been leaning to it for a while. I just haven't, I don't know. There's a lot of projects, a lot of random things I could do. If you guys want to see the rod holder for the top of that spanner mount area, can make that happen. But I don't think the camera mount is the best option. I mounted the camera we're recording on now, the Canon M50, there with a GoPro or Ram mount, claw mount thingy-majigger, and the video was no one wanted to watch it. Okay, I'm sure you didn't want to stare at the bottom of my seat in my pants while I pedal around. But everyone is different. Maybe it would work for you, Anthony. I don't know. It was weird. I don't do much filming on the water either. If I do a little bit of filming on the water, I'm usually holding the GoPro in my hand. So I'm probably the worst person ever to design a camera mount. I just never record anything. Dino, you've been fishing or you've been waiting for the temperature to drop? You use a piece of pool noodle Velcro to the top. I think we can improve on that a little bit, although it probably works great. Looking like you sat in gum. Wait, what happened now? Who sat in gum? All right, what questions we got? Got to have some questions about fishing or kayaks or projects. Who's ordered stuff recently? Anyone had any problems with anything? Since we redesigned the kayak handle, we haven't had any problems. Obviously, the seat risers have been selling great. Yeah, waiting on temperatures to drop. I understood that. That's just crazy out there. Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous. That camera system, the camera angle is a little weird. Anybody had any parts? If you guys do ever order stuff and you have an issue with it, all you gotta do is shoot me an email. We'll get it worked out. Do you ever fool with drift socks in the Golf? Great question. I don't. The Golf usually isn't moving all that fast. Even when we think it's moving fast because we want to bottom fish, it's not typically moving all that fast. Even at 1.5 miles per hour, which seems like it's flying to us, the East Coast is dealing with 3+ miles per hour all the time, okay? That's an ocean compared to a Golf, right? So I don't typically mess with the drift sock. I don't think I've ever actually taken one out there. I've thought about it a few times, but I kind of want to be able to cover some ground, right? So sitting in one area and drifting slowly is not really up there on my to-do list. I could see drifting slowly if you wanted to catch some kings, but you could drift fast and catch kings. I appreciate it, Brian. It's like anything else in life. If you spend 12 hours a day working on something, it'll work out. That's it. You spend 12 hours a day fixing the airplane gets fixed. Spend 12 hours a day trying to build a business, you build a business. I appreciate it, buddy. But so yeah, I don't really mess with the drift sock stuff. I want the ability to move. What happens if a school of mahi pops up 200 yards south of you and you spend 5 minutes trying to get your drift sock in and then they're gone? I don't want that. I want the ability to move. I also don't want a fish being hooked and fighting a fish and then it's swimming into my drift sock and breaking me off. So I don't mess with it. Plus, any kind of resistance on the kayak, especially in kind of big waves, it's probably pretty dangerous. Might make you fall over, go for a swim. I don't mess with it. I don't like anything outside of the kayak. But then again, as many of you know, keep it pretty simple when I launch the kayak, right? The goal is I go out there with pretty much nothing. Even during charter season when we have 2 clients, sometimes we have 4 clients and 2 guides, I'll still have 1 box of tackle and 4 fishing poles at the most. Less is more. You just gotta be prepared. Kayak fishing is controlled chaos. I always say it's controlled chaos, right? You don't want to be in this position where you have anything that's out of your control. It's dangerous. I don't want to fall. What if you fall in and get wrapped in the rope that goes to the drift sock? I know it sounds stupid, but same reason we don't anchor in the Gulf. It's just not worth the risk. It's a good question though. Have you ever used a drift sock? Has anyone used a drift sock in the Gulf to drift around and catch all kinds of random things? Who's excited about triggerfish season? That, of course, is hurricanes all over the place. Can't even go out there and catch a dang triggerfish because the surf has been crazy. That has kind of been terrible, but it is what it is. Gnarliest weather I've been in the Gulf, that's this year. Like 100%, that is this year. We ran a trip with a gentleman named Chris and his son, Chris. The forecast was, we'll say, 1.2 feet at 4 seconds. There were definitely 5 to 8 foot waves off the beach. Now, the beach was pretty calm because the wind was kind of out of the northeast. The beach was not bad. It was definitely, we'll say, two foot at the beach every 4 or 5 seconds. And off the beach wasn't breaking, but they were just monstrous waves. That same day, there was the Coast Guard was called in for a guy in a pro angler evidently who flipped out, couldn't get back in. His kayak was filling with water. I don't know all the details exactly, but my buddy Brian, he and his buddy Jeff, they were over there. I think maybe Kenny was with them too. And they helped this guy bilge out his kayak, get him back in the kayak. Even understanding what the weather report said, I've never seen the Gulf do what it did. Now, we've been out there in some pretty windy, nasty conditions. We fished through multiple storms out there in the past. Like, get out there trying to beat a storm, and there's small little clusters of storm, and it blows over you, and the wind's easily blowing 20 miles per hour, and just rain, kind of like a squall, and you just point the kayak into it, not really that big of a deal, especially when you can see light on the other side of the storm. But yeah, definitely this year will be the biggest waves I have been in off the beach. Kayaks handled it great. That wasn't really a concern. It's hard to fish from the kayak in those conditions. There weren't any kings on the surface, that's for sure. It was snapper season, and the client was still catching fish. He was still catching a snapper. He just wasn't catching the right snapper. So it was rough. It was nasty. I don't remember what the date was on that, but there was a bunch of people out there that day, and there's a bunch of people who had no experience in their kayaks, and they still went out there, which was very, very stupid on their part. We shouldn't have been out there either, but we had a bunch of experience, and we knew we would be okay. Still probably shouldn't have did it, but we did it. It didn't look that bad, though. At the beach, it wasn't that bad. We also remember we did a video this spring about, although the beach is nice, does not mean it is nice off the beach, mile offshore. I think the video is called "It's Rough a Mile Offshore" or something like that. It's worth going to watch. What you see on the beach is not always an accurate representation of what it looks like a mile from the beach. There's currents out there and all kinds of stuff, and things change really, really quick. What other questions do we have? That's a good question, though. It gets nasty out there sometimes, man. It gets real nasty out there. What other questions? Tyler, how's the weather at your house? Who else lives in Mobile that's on here right now watching the video? Dang, Tim, 30 degrees up there? I know you're freezing. You're putting that cold weather gear to good use. Have you been fishing at all? Take up any new hobbies? Chasing mule deer? A big adjustment to Northwest Florida, that's for sure. Which build do you prefer, the kayak? I'm going to go with a hand pump right now. Jeff had an electric bilge pump on his PA-14. He's able to use that to help someone else in their PA-14. I just have a simple old little hand one. It's tied in front of my hatch. I don't even talk about it much. Probably should do a video on why you should carry it. Mine kind of just sits in there. I haven't used it in years. Fortunately, the Predator, the Old Towns, the seals are pretty good. The hatches are pretty good. So I don't ever get water inside of mine. I don't think I've ever had water in any of them. Now, if you flip over, you're going to get water in it, right? It's going to come in. There's hundreds of holes in your kayak, right? Everyone thinks that they're perfectly waterproof. They're not. So yeah, just a good old little hand bilge pump that you can just pull it and spray it, pull it and spray it. There's a bunch of different styles, but just keep it simple. It's kind of just like nice to have. It's definitely not a perfect answer. That is for sure. Looks like you'll be on the bad side of the storm. Looks like it may be a little west of my location in West Mobile. Yeah, we do look like we're definitely on the bad side. Fortunately, it's still sitting out there. No one knows what it's gonna do. So, like I said before, I'm not a weatherman. Can't really make any predictions on it. Hopefully, I don't want it to hurt anybody, right? So I don't hope it goes a different direction. I just want it to. It can rain and rain and rain and then just disappear, right? That'd be the best outcome. come up with a new prop for the PDL? All right, it's a fantastic question, right? The answer is definitely no. Now, I just threw away one of the ones we 3D printed just earlier today, no joke. Okay, first off, redesigning the prop for the PDL was definitely not my idea. Here's the reason. The guy who redesigned, his name's Adam, made two or three different variations, right? He had redesigned a prop for the trolling motor version, like the MK or any of the Minn Kota trolling motors for like a bass boat. And his design did make it more efficient on a 3-bladed prop compared to a 2-bladed prop on an electric motor. The difference is that electric motor is this big, goes to a gear system, and is spinning at thousands of RPMs. With this, it's not spinning as much, right? So one little degree of efficiency is not going to give you a better outcome because you're never going to feel it on your feet because you can't put out enough RPMs. So changing the pitch, all it does is either increase hardcore amounts of torque on your feet or not give you any reverse. So right, he made one prop that it wasn't catching anything. It was a 3-bladed version. It wasn't catching anything, and you could pedal way faster, but you didn't go anywhere. And then he made another prop that was more based on like a pump system. So the idea is to move large amounts of water at slow torque, but it had so much torque that it was vibrating the entire system, which was kind of crazy to feel. And then it had so much torque in one direction that it had no reverse, which was crazy. Now, Old Town, remember, Old Town owns Minn Kota. They own so many different things. The prop that they built for this is super efficient. The old design team at Old Town was phenomenal. They built you an incredible system based on years and years of experience, reached out to the right people. That prop that comes with it is fantastic. Not to mention, you can purchase it for $6. Like, that's crazy. You're looking at an injection molded part that to get it for $6 is pretty incredible. I think the Torqeedo one is, I don't know. I see the prices for the Torqeedo one. If you break the Torqeedo prop, you gotta pay big money to get that thing back. Like, not big money, but at least 3 or 4 more times than the Old Town prop. So there's no reason to change it. This is why. If you change that and you add more torque to this system, say you break this pinion gear, or you break that gear, or you break the other pinion gear. There's another pinion gear in the top of it, okay? Or there's a gear system in the top, like a main gear, that the bolt comes through in the middle that goes out to your pedals, that's welded together. If you put too much torque on all of this and you break that, then you're out of luck. Now you have a completely broken system. When you call Old Town and say, hey, I was using a different prop, yeah, blah, 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 broke it, they're gonna be like, hey, we're not warrantying it. So don't change it. The idea that you can pedal this pedal system and go 3.5 miles per hour in the Predator with relatively zero effort is incredible. You know, this year we put a 77-year-old man in one of these and took him to the Gulf of Mexico, and he did fine. We also took a guy who had 2 strokes like 7 years ago, and he was able to pedal it all day in the Gulf of Mexico in some pretty decent current. It's pretty much a testament to how efficient it is. I see guys all the time post on Facebook that they got it over 6 miles per hour. I think I got mine over 5 once, but I'm not in that big of a hurry to check my GPS and go fast for 10 seconds, all right? So pretty interesting to think about. I don't see myself ever trying to redesign the prop for it. It is not worth the time. A floating prop, it would be so expensive though. That's the thing, like, we could never do it for anywhere near $6, right? So then if you pedaled into a log, it didn't matter if it floated or not. It would still be broken. Crazy to think about, okay? New to your channel, I've been leaning more towards the Predator PDL. Thoughts? Well, we've bought 40 Predator PDLs over the last 4 or 5 years. I'm gonna tell you that it's a pretty safe bet. Now, I might be biased, but they serve us very, very well. They're durable. I mean, legitimately, out of all of those kayaks, this is the first time I've ever had an issue with this And remember, I pedaled more in 6 months than most of you will probably pedal your PDL in 2 years. So it's pretty darn durable. I call this a fluke. I really wouldn't worry about it. Kind of excited it happened because I really kind of just want to tear one apart, right? Pretty simple though, okay? I would go for it. I wouldn't really hesitate about it too much. There's a reason they have an unbelievable resale rate, right, or resale price. There's also a reason you don't see very many on Marketplace, and there's a reason they sell instantly on Facebook Marketplace. It's a solid product, okay? We can go on about that if you want. Biloxi here, got some light rain, a little bit of wind, better than what was originally predicted a couple days ago. Yeah, now they're saying it was supposed to be here, like, I don't know. Now it's slowed down like 2 miles per hour. It was 6 miles per hour, 5 miles per hour. It was 10 before that, and it's still way out there in the middle of nowhere. Caught some pike, kind of boring to be honest. All you need is a gold spoon and burn it back. Hey, just enjoy it while you can. All we got is trout and redfish. No, I'm just kidding. Plenty of rain, a good breeze in West Mobile. Daphne is windy with burst of rains. Hey, Luann, how are you? You're in Michigan, so you shouldn't be getting any kind of rain. Floating prop, we covered that. Will your seat risers help with the lower back pain I get when I'm in big water 132 for long periods? All right, so the seat risers help level the seat out. One thing you can think of is I felt like my shoulders and stuff would start to hurt because I would like have to lean forward to grab stuff. So I was always kind of in a terrible posture, right? Because you lean so far backwards in the seat because it's tilted down. Picking it up is going to change that angle. It's going to allow you to sit a little bit more forward and your legs won't be as high. So it could definitely help with your lower back pain or your back pain. What you could do is you could take like a wooden blocks, like a wooden 2x4, about 1 inch thick, right? 1.5 inches thick, slide it underneath the seat temporarily or permanently and see if it helps. Even sitting in it will help you. Even if you put it in there and go sit in your garage, you'll instantly see the different angle you're sitting at. So I would give that a test before you order them if you don't know if they're going to work or not. I'll tell you this, that we sell a ton of the 1 inch risers. Like I'm talking like unreal compared to, we sell some 2 inches and some 3.5 inches too, but that's kind of crazy. And we might sell 1 2-inch version every 15 1-inch versions. So pretty much a sweet spot. People like it, okay? Let's see here. I live in the Gulf Coast, Texas Louisiana border. Seems like this area is a hurricane tropical storm magnet. Hey, I feel like the worst is yet to come with years and years of coming. Man, there's just so much construction and growth along the Gulf Coast right now that there will be nowhere to hide. Like even Mexico Beach where that Hurricane Michael just hit Tyndall Air Force Base area, they already rebuilt it. Like it is being rebuilt hardcore, like developer paradise. So it's just too much stuff along the coast. I feel like we're asking for it by living here realistically. Yep, you probably do need a new hat. I need some new hats, so I'm happy for those guys to get those hats. They're in work. I don't know if you were watching, Tim, when I talked about it, but they should be done October 2nd. We'll find out. New kayaks on the market are snazzy, but the first gen PDL is just too comfortable to think about changing. Yeah, they really haven't changed much. You got the metal rudder, so you have the best rudder system. I'll tell you this rectangular hatch, that thing is nice. If you cut look, this is what we do. If you cut the bungee off it that goes in these little holes, then you instantly have a cutting board built into the middle of your kayak. And if you don't cut the bungee off on purpose, when you're cutting up snapper chum, you will accidentally cut it off, and then it turns into a cutting board. That's what really happened. Any last questions? I appreciate you guys watching. If you do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button, I think most people already did. Evidently, that helps the YouTube algorithm tell people that we provide useful information. So I greatly appreciate it. I'm going to try to do the Facebook Live stuff a little bit more as the kayak charter season slows down a bit. If you guys have any questions or thoughts on videos, we still have that submit your question thing. I don't really talk about it too much anymore on the website, but you can go in and you can submit a question, or you can just send me an email at nick@navarrekayakfishing.com. And I use those questions to generate topics to create videos. because there's no reason to make videos that you guys aren't interested in. And a lot of the content I try to make is obviously informational to help people out, because, well, there's enough videos of people catching 12-inch trout in the world. No one needs to see that. Yeah, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. Let me know if you have any questions.